we are going to be solving for y. And you might be wondering why we're doing that. Well, we solve for y when we want to move from standard form to slope intercept form. So I'm just going to box those, and it might be good to just give us another visual. Right, so we have different types of equations, we know that. Standard form would look like this. So it's like a number in x plus a number in y makes c. And so a, b, and c can be anything. Slope-intercept form would just be y equals mx, so the slope times x plus whatever the y-intercept is, right? And that can be positive or negative. So they look a little bit different just because there's those A, B, and C's there, and those M's and the B's. But the big thing to know is, right, we have AX plus BY. What you're trying to do is basically get rid of the X and whatever's attached to it, as well as that number that's attached to the Y. So we want Y by itself. Hence, we're going to solve for Y. So there's just 3 little steps we're going to remember. So you can make a little 1, 2, 3. You'll refer to this as we work through the problems. Step 1 is going to be, remember we want y by itself, so we're going to move the x to the other side. So we're going to move x to the other side. We are going to divide. So basically imagine if x is gone, right? Then we just have a number that's attached to the y. So that's our special number that we want to go away. So divide to get rid of, we'll just say b, right? Because remember we're going from standard form to slope-intercept form. And we'll put little like quotes around that. So b. And then the last step is always just, can you simplify? So I'll put a question mark because sometimes you can simplify, sometimes you can't. So we're going to ask ourselves, can we simplify? I'm going to draw a little squiggly line here, and then we'll probably like just leave some little notes on the side. So I'm going to slide up. You can refer to this as we work through the problems, but we'll just start with a problem. So maybe we'll do like 3. 4x minus 8y makes 20. So our first equation in standard form is 4x minus 8y equals 20. So remember what we want to do. We want to get y by itself. So I'm going to skip maybe like 1, 2, 3, 4. We'll just set like a little target right there. That should be enough room. And so step 1, right, if we want to get y by itself, I'm going to leave this alone, okay? So here's my target. That 8 is attached to the y, or that negative 8 is attached. So the first thing I want to get rid of is that positive 4x. So you'd ask yourself, how do I get rid of a positive 4x, right? Well, I'm just going to take it away. Anything I do to one side, I do to the other. And I saw some kids doing this recently, so we'll just kind of separate the 2 sides. So we want to move from the left to the right, right? So that's what, when somebody says move the x to the other side, essentially it's like you're moving it out of the way. Because if you take away 4x from this side, it goes away. That 8 negative y comes down. And then here, we have 20 take away 4x. And so you should see right away, you're like, oh, I can't do that because 20 and 4x's are not the same thing, right? So those are not like terms. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to write the negative 4x. That's a positive 20, so I'm going to write plus 20. So I want to write it in this order. Y equals an x plus a number. So just like we have up here, okay? Our last step to get to here is we want that negative 8 to go away. So I know you're seeing a negative and you're like, oh, maybe I should do something with a positive. Well, we're missing some information. That negative 8 is being multiplied by the y. So the inverse operation of multiply times negative 8 is divide negative 8. And if I divide negative 8 here, right, anything I do to one side, I do to the other, but I'm actually going to do it to every single term that's in this entire equation. So part of keeping everything equal is that we do the change to everything, right? So I can divide the negative 4x by negative 8. I can divide the positive 20 by negative 8. And then essentially all I'm going to do is simplify. And so it's kind of hard for me to record or to show you how I do this because I don't have a calculator. But just imagine I go on Desmos or I go on my phone. Negative 8 divided by negative 8 just makes 1, which is great. I just want 1y. On the right side, I have negative 4 divided by negative 8. So negative divided by negative is canceling out, right? It's positive. And then 4 over 8, if you saw that slope, another way to say that would just be 1 over 2. Bring the x down. So 4 over 8 simplifies to 1 over 2. And then positive 20 over negative 8. So positive divided by negative makes a negative. 20 over 8, if you want to simplify that, it would just be half of 20, half of 8. So I'd use that little button on Desmos that looks like this. So 20 divided by 8 would give me, divide by 2 is 10 over 4, and then divide again, so I get 5 over 2. So final answer here would be y equals 1/2 x minus 5 over 2. And I apologize, I just wanted to get all of that written together, right? So that's my final answer. I'm just gonna make a note over here to leave things as fractions. So it's okay to leave as fractions. Okay, so in other words, that 1/2, we like that because that looks like a slope. And then that negative 5 over 2, well, that looks nice too because, right, it's just a cleaner version, right? You could change that to a decimal, but we're just going to leave it how it is. Let's do another one. So I'm going to slide up. Let's go ahead and do this. We're going to say 9x plus 3y makes negative 50. Okay, so this one's a little different. We have a positive 3y now. Let's go ahead and take the 9x, right? So the first thing we want to do is we want to move the 9x, get it to the other side. We're going to leave our positive 3y alone. So step 1, take away the 9x. Anything I do to the left, do to the right. 3y comes down. I don't really need that positive. I'll just leave it as 3y. And then here, right, your brain's like, something doesn't look right. That's a regular 50. That's a regular x. Numbers and letters can't go together, right? So I'm just going to bring that negative 9x down. I'm going to bring that negative 50 down. I can't combine like terms, but I can divide everything by 3, right? So if I have 3y, to get rid of that and just get y by itself, I divide by 3, divide by 3, divide by 3. And it's kind of like dominoes. I'd compared that in a different class. So divide, 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 right? They all kind of fall down. So y equals negative 9 divided by 3 is actually just going to be negative 3x. And then here again, right, negative 50 divided by 3. If I were to do that in the calculator, I would get a long decimal. It would be like 16.666666. Way too messy. It's okay to leave as a fraction. So minus 50 over 3. There we go. That looks a little nicer. Okay. So we got 1, 2. Let's just knock out one more. Might as well, right? Okay, so I'm going to turn the page and slide everything over. And if you have extra space, you can just use that for scratch work today. Some of you prefer to work on paper, and I would encourage you to do that if you have a hard time writing on the screen. Okay, so this one looks pretty straightforward, right? 2x minus y equals 12. Nice friendly numbers. Step 1, right? So we're just going to basically leave the y alone. We're going to move the 2x. So what's the opposite of positive 2x? Take away 2x. Anything I do to one side, do to the other. Negative y comes down. And then 12, take away 2x. I can't do that. They're not the same. So negative 2x, positive 12. And now, you might be looking at this going like, yeah, y is by itself. we're done. Well, not really. So that y is actually negative. If you look at what we're trying to get, we can't graph with a negative y. We have to have a positive y. And so I'm gonna write the final answer, and I want you just to like think about what's happening here. So the final answer is actually y equals 2x minus 12. Okay, so compare here to here, right? So remember what I said about dominoes? It's like, imagine if this negative becomes a positive, negative becomes a positive, positive becomes a negative. It's like they're all just flipping. That's because that negative y, you can think of that as a negative 1y. So I'm going to divide by what it's attached to. So divide by the negative 1. Everything is getting divided by negative 1. So just a little trick, when you see a negative y, and that's your final step, is to convert that to here. Everything flips. And if it helps you to see that, just go ahead and divide each term by negative 1. Cool? If you can do these 3, I think you can do 3 more. So, use your notes. For real, go ahead and use practice space anywhere in your journal. I have some space here, you could use that. I have some extra space here, so I might as well just go ahead and make that little note. Scratch work. In class on your work and on the test, this is totally cool. Just use notebook paper, solve stuff, it's easier, and then go back and put your answers into Blend or use the calculator in Desmos. Cool. All right, good luck. We'll talk.